Oh, I'm supposed to be hosting this week. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Friday night, and you know what that means? Friday night means Chat G&G. It's me with Gags Tandon, donning another amazing shirt. This time from we'll let you guess first. We'll let the listeners, viewers. Well, the listeners won't be able to guess because they can't see anything, but the viewers will be able to see. Uh, I don't. There's no prize on offer, but just which year is that shirt from, people? Let us know. And whoever gets it right gets a shout out, I guess. But welcome to Chat G&G, where we will be discussing everything to do with Liverpool and the headlines around Liverpool. And there's plenty of headlines tonight. We have, of course, a special guest joining us in a few minutes' time. But Mr. Tandon,
Hello, how you doing?
good. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Busy week at work, but otherwise, busy week in the world of Liverpool Football Club as well. Never stops. Today, in fact, was a beautiful day
Mm-hmm.
because we rejoined with Adidas, however anyone wants to say it,
Mm-hmm.
and to celebrate, I'm wearing a an old Crown Paints, you know,
So I
shirt.
just want to ask: is that the first time we were? Is that the first Adidas sponsorship deal? No, there must have been before that.
Yeah. This was the first sponsorship deal, but we had kits before this away. It was like we had the yellow and the white the
That's
years
right.
before,
Yeah,
like
that's
the
right.
FA Cup
That's right.
time.
Hitachi.
So yeah, and then we came through, and then this was 87, 88, 88, 89, 89, 90 when Candy came in 88, 89, 90. So it was Crown Paints first. So there was a white sponsor version and there's a red sponsor version as well of this.
Right.
It's a beautiful shirt. This color, the silver gray. These honestly are my favorite away kits ever. And I thought, what a way to commemorate Adidas coming back on a Chat G&G than to wear one of my favorite retro shirts. And I actually can fit in it now,
Oh,
by the way.
amazing,
Yeah,
amazing. Uh,
yeah.
WD Red says 88, 89. Can you deny or confirm?
I think it's the one year before. I think it is 87, 88. I think.
Okay,
I may be wrong, but I think it is. Yeah.
okay. Um, but yeah, it's a lovely top. It goes with your beard. I like that
Mm.
touch
Now that
of
I'm getting
grey.
older, this suits the grey.
I
Yeah,
think, I
look at
think,
it. Look at this. The grey sides,
I
everything.
think I think you've
Brilliant.
done this on purpose. I think it's definitely you know what you're doing. I think there's more than meets the eye with you. You're very clever in that sense. I think you've designed it. So like yeah, Sonamunda. Yeah, no, it's Sonamunda people.
But to be honest,
Sonam-
Grizz, before we do get all to the Ben stuff and the contract stuff and Isak, Adidas back and a
oh,
beautiful home kit and a beautiful away kit. The
oh,
third kit is supposed to be mwah, chef's kiss as well. Um, it's great to have them back.
of course it is. Look, synonymous, isn't it? Liverpool is synonymous with. Okay, first and foremost, how do you pronounce it? Is it Adidas? Adidas, like I've been saying all my life. Adidas. How do you say it? Any
I say
ideas?
Adidas, but there's a lot of people that call it Adidas.
Yeah,
Adidas.
Adidas. Yeah. So where is the word
Grizz,
Adidas
there's
originate from? Is
apparently people are saying there's an offer for
we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into
yeah
it. We're gonna get into it. Don't worry. Don't worry.
some
I
bombers going up
chat.
apparently.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry. There's nothing. It's just usual. Liverpool. It's a day in the life of a Liverpool fan. We're gonna address as many comments as we can, but we're gonna take it in stages. As I said, people, as you're rolling into the chat, as you're rolling into the show, whatever platform you're watching it on, um, do the right thing, and like on that platform. Preferably come on over to the YouTube channel and subscribe if you haven't, and like if you haven't, and we will get into all things. Hey, let's not forget the factual thing today is, well, the closest thing, another factual thing, Tyler Morton. Paul Joyce says he's very close. So we'll talk about that. The Nunez bid that's just apparently spreading like wildfire. And then, of course, the major talking point, which we were discussing with Ben Jacobs. You've heard my opinion on it. You've heard Gags' opinion on it. We've been talking about it for the last couple of shows. We'll get Ben Jacobs' opinion because he broke the exclusive part of the story of today, and we'll let him explain what he means by that. Harry Evans says, trust the Grizz. Thank you very much. Don't trust me. Trust the process. trust Edwards, trust Hughes, trust the management, trust them, make the wise decisions. There was another someone said, where's this one? Someone said, where's that thing? Grizz put his neck on the line. Where is that one? Is that right at the top?
Right at the top.
Let me find it. Look, okay.
Yeah,
TG says, first, the show hadn't started, by the way. The show hadn't started. Grizz put his neck on the line yet again and it's backfired yet again. What's happened, TG? What's happened, brother or sister? I don't know, because you haven't got a picture. You just got TG. What's happened, my friend? What's happened? Shall I put your neck on the line next time? If you want me to, I'll put your neck on the line next time. But yeah, look, it is what it is. Big up Ganto, our resident Elvis Presley lookalikes in the building. He says, big up Grizz. And the chat, karma people, he says, trust the nerds, Peter Kroptikin says. But yeah, listen, we will get into all things transfers, links, rumors, talking points, but I love the kit. I'm ready to spend my hard-earned cash on it. Have you already done the business?
Done the business. I got 3 coming. So I've got.
So which ones did you go for?
I got for the red long sleeve and the red short sleeve, and then the away kit short sleeve. I've got over 100 kits, I think. Like, I'm a collector of kits, so as soon as that red one came out, I thought it was gorgeous, to be honest. The only thing it's missing is this. It needs to be this, and I think the third kit has that logo on it. That's just like retro for me. That is what I grew up with, so I love that design rather than the 3 stripes that they have. But the green away kit will have that, so I'll definitely get that as well when it comes out. But the goalkeeper kit is black for the green one.
Oh,
that's going to be amazing. So yeah, mate, I collect them, and it's one of the things that I do, and I love. I just love wearing Liverpool kits, like the shirts. Especially now that I'm on YouTube, I might as well wear these all the time. Did you get what I mean?
When Gag says he's got probably 100, trust me, if you follow him on Instagram, first go and follow him on Instagram, and you'll see that he has actually got bloody over 100. Anfield Road is in the building. Hanji Kinda Mundio.
Good
for joining us, Anfield Road. And shall I tell you guys? The kits are amazing, home and away and all that. Have you seen the trainers?
Oh, the Sambas. There's going to be more. There's going to be loads more. Apparently.
Unbelievable. They have actually smashed it. Someone told us how to spell it or pronounce it. The original pronunciation goes by the founder, Adolf Adi Dassler in Germany. Adidas.
Oh,
that's how we said it.
Adidas. So we're close. We're close. Adidas, the way we say it. I mean,
yes, it's better than Adidas.
Yeah, it's better than Adidas.
Adidas.
Yeah, whoever does Adidas.
I still don't know how to pronounce that. That could be pronounced.
Actually, Adidas could be right.
Exactly.
Anyway,
but he has done the AH with capital letters, so maybe that's more pronounced.
Adidas. Anyway, at the end of the day, they are my favorite designers. Having them back after so long, 10 years or whatever it was, maybe even more, 12, it's a dream come true. So it was a big day. I'm really excited by what comes next, and apparently they're going to do a Legends or a retro range very soon as well. So when they come out, we'll be restocking on those as well. Basically, Liverpool, just take my money. Just take all my money. This is the thing I live for. So one day when I move to a new place, I'm actually going to try and make a proper place for these kits, so they look good behind me or something, like on a show or whatever. It's that's the dream.
Any issues with the numbers and the shirts? Vert's got the 7, which is classic. I love that.
I have no problem really. I think because Endo has 3 and Gomez has 2, we couldn't really do anything with Frimpong and Kirk.
Frimpong got 6.
No, Frimpong got 30. Kirk has got 6.
Kirk has got 6.
Yeah, so it's like Endo could have just swapped with him. It's like the number 3 should be the left back. Come on. So yeah, it's all. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I don't really care about numbers. I care about the forwards more, that they're going to be right. And Nunez is still here with the 9. So
Hmm. I'm
Ganto
not
says,
sure.
did I see the Anfield wrap visit Anfield Adidas factory? Yes, I thought it was a brilliant video. I really loved it. And also the big story about the away kit, that when they left us in 2012, 13 or whatever, 2012, the away badge that is on the away kit right now was actually supposed to be on the new kit that was coming out in 2012. So the same designer waited for it,
Wow.
which is amazing. But I think our guest is here, so
We
we are
we're
going to
gonna give
introduce him.
we're gonna give him well, we've already given him 10 minutes to
I think he's ready. I'm going to bring him in.
he's ready. He's ready.
Here he
There you
is.
go.
Here he
Evening,
is.
guys. How are you?
We
Hi,
are
Ben.
absolutely fine and what's the word? Intrigued, fascinated. And first of all, welcome, Ben. Me and Ben, of course, have spoken many times. Welcome to my other half on this show of Chat G&G. This is Gags. Gags. I decided to ask Ben to come onto the show today. Normally, it's me and Gags just waffling on for the best part of an hour about nothing in particular, but we have something very particular to talk about, haven't we, Gags?
We
What
do.
could it be?
Well, welcome to the show, Ben. You've probably not met me before, but I'm the founder of Anfield Index, and yeah, welcome to the show. Obviously, first and foremost,
Thank you.
this is now Chat G and B. Yeah, for today. So I do actually, Grizz, if you don't mind me just diving straight in here, I do have some questions prepped for you, mate.
Ben is a very busy person. He only likes to dive in and dive out, so we haven't got long with him. So feel free.
So I think we've got what, 15, 20 minutes with you, something like that.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah,
that?
exactly. We can go a bit longer as well, but 9 o'clock, I'm back on Talk Sport.
Wow. Okay. So I have 5 or 6 questions. I know we don't want to
You
go
done
too-
homework? You done research?
Well,
This is
we've
not like
got
Chat
some
G&G.
questions, but it's not like Chat G&G, is it? We just go on the fly. But since Ben was coming on, I thought we'd get some questions out that maybe the guys that are watching, listening, girls that are listening, will want to hear answers to. And yeah, we can keep it as brief as you want. You can go into as much detail as you want. As long as we get through them, it'd be great. But
Brilliant.
the first question that everyone, or I think folks, and we have a big community at Anfield in Discord and WhatsApp and things like that, and so we got some questions. So the first question that came in with the story that and let's do a bit of background first. The story was that that you broke earlier, the big bomber that literally turned everything upside down today, literally in all the communities that I'm in for Liverpool. That Newcastle rejected the bid, but not only that, Liverpool kind of said we're not going to make a second bid immediately. So the first question was this briefed to you from the Liverpool side or the Newcastle side?
Well, I think as a journalist, you go to all sides. So it's not a case of one side or the other. You get information from sources, you put scrutiny on that information, and you conclude how you want to report it. And how I concluded I wanted to report it after speaking to all sides is that at the moment, Liverpool are not inclined to place a second bid. But you'll note I said as it stands. And the point of as it stands is that there's two different things here. One is not inclined to place a bid, and the other is pulling out. And at the moment, they've not pulled out of the race for Alexander Isak, but they're not inclined to bid. So how do those two things marry and make sense? Well, what it means is Newcastle United would have to go to Liverpool and say, we want to engage. Are they going to do that if Isak continues to force a move? Maybe. Are they going to do that if they bring in an attacker or two? Maybe. And that will be later in the next days, the next weeks between now and September the 3rd. Are they going to do that before the game in August against Liverpool in the Premier League? I think you can never say never. But right now, the accurate state of play, I'm told, is after the bid, which was £110 million, no add-ons. Liverpool have indicated that they're not just going to come back with another bid, that they're not preparing a higher offer because they think the nature of the rebuffal today was categorical enough that unless they're given that encouragement, that outreach from Newcastle, they're wasting their time as of now. Does that mean it's over? No. Does that mean we're going to get another bid this evening? Also, no. And that's pretty much what I reported. And naturally, it gets quite a lot of negative feedback, as ever. bad news is bad reporting, good news is good reporting, and so on. But I think it's quite widely reflected now with other great journalists that I would encourage you to read. And context with this Isak saga is going to prove very important.
So do you think this is just, as a follow-up, a PR exercise by Newcastle, or is it high-stakes football business? This is the way it is? Because obviously a lot of folks that are following this story are kind of perceiving it as if it's a hold. Now, if I just go back a little bit, Newcastle's window has been horrendous. From the optics, but everybody hates that word optics, but from an optical perspective, Liverpool's window has been complete opposite, staggeringly amazing. And so what needs to happen for this to happen is Newcastle need to sign a player or two for anything to happen to make it possible. Is this kind of a PR exercise where we're just pausing, giving space, giving time to allow that time to get those players in, because it seems like it's a real difficult task at the moment for them?
Yeah, I don't think this is only about replacements, although naturally, if they got a Shesko, a Watkins, Jackson, a Wissa, probably two, people would rightly, in my opinion, think that they are in some ways pre-spending a bit of the Isak money. So clearly Liverpool are in a stronger position if Newcastle acts freely in the market. But I think before we get into that, this is really more about Isak, because Liverpool have shown their hand, and they've done that just before he's due to report back to training. And they've done that with a lot of leeway. People are saying they're puzzled by 110 when they said that they would bid 120 a few weeks ago. But remember, when you arrive with confidence, and that was genuinely Liverpool's position this morning, you got to leave leeway. You know the first bid's never going to be accepted. Yeah. There's no release clause. So you come in at 110, because 110 is a lot of money on the fixed fee. It's much better than 100 plus 20, where you gamble on 20, you take 110.
I was just going to say, Ben, I want you to clarify that, because some people may not have heard that or read that, or may have misunderstood that. So according to your information, the bid was, and I'll let you explain that part of the story.
Yeah, 110, no add-ons. And I think they bid that with confidence because they thought, okay, Newcastle are probably not going to say 150 or even counter at all, but they might engage there because you leave it open to put some add-ons on that and we can have a conversation. Or you leave it open to make your fixed fee a British transfer record and put some add-ons on and we can have a conversation. And this is why you come in at that number. And rarely do you offer that magnitude of money and fixed if you don't think that the answer is at least going to be, let's have a meeting or a conversation. So Liverpool went in more optimistic than people realize. And this is why the emphatic and quick nature of the rebuffal not only caught them by surprise to some extent, but made them think, okay, maybe we are, as of now, wasting our time in making any imminent progress.
I'm really confused though, Ben, because, sorry to cut you off, I'm really confused because the reporting around this for the last month, maybe two, has been that nothing short of 130 to 150 will be enough.
That's just the reporting. Yeah. That's just the number. Nobody's ever quoted Newcastle a number. So it's true that Newcastle insiders have said for some time that 150 is a number that they might have to consider, but that's never been relayed back to Liverpool. And you can argue Isak is driving his own price down by being at Real Sociedad and not being part of pre-season. British transfer record's a British transfer record. So if you're sensible and you understand how these transfers work of this magnitude, same with Florian Wirtz, at some point, even if it's all very positive, you're going to have to go up and up and up, whether verbally or formally. It's the case with every transfer. If there's no release clause, 2-3 bids, whether verbal, informal, even if it's positive. So if you're starting at 110, it might mean that they're prepared to go to 130, but not necessarily with the first bid, because you have to have a point of conversation. And if your first bid leads to anything positive, you know you're in a strong position. So why start high? If they came in, as some people suggested, at 120 plus add-ons, there's almost no chance you're getting that deal done for under 150. If you come in at 110 and there is any positive dialogue, then you may have a chance of getting it at 120, at 130, which is ultimately the number that they indicated they were prepared to pay. But finishing what I was saying before, more important than the number and more important than the rebuffal, and maybe even more important than who Newcastle do or don't sign, is actually Isak now. Because Liverpool have shown their hand, Newcastle have shown their hand. So each club knows exactly where the other club is as of today. Newcastle will claim they're puzzled by the bid, but I actually think it's quite normal to say, here's a starting point. Let's see how they react. And similarly, Liverpool have made their position clear that as of now, they're not simply preparing a new offer. But the only thing we don't know, and Newcastle don't know crucially, is Alexander Isak. Does he return? And then Newcastle have encouragement that maybe out of nowhere, like with Gibbs White this window, can they get him to sign a new deal on the premise he can go in a year's time? And does that suit Liverpool because they wait a year and get him at better value? Or does Isak surprise Newcastle even further as he's done all summer and double down? What if the player says, I'm not coming back, I'm not training, I don't want to be part of the Premier League squad, I want to sit out every single game, I'm never going to play for you again, and persists with that stance all the way through August, all the way up to and past the Newcastle-Liverpool game in August. And then Eddie Howe, every press conference, every back page, every headline is all about Alexander Isak. Is there actually a way by doubling down, the door opens to Liverpool? And this is where Liverpool are waiting, because they're saying, let the player do the work. Let Newcastle do the work in the recruitment market. And then maybe they think if they back off, it's going to be Newcastle that come calling saying, actually, we want to do this deal. We need to do this deal now. So I come back to what I've said before. 3 months ago, my understanding was there were 3 options and only 3 options. Extend at Newcastle, stay at Newcastle with Champions League football because he's well contracted and well paid, or, of course, go to Liverpool. Now I think there's only 2 options. I'm not of the belief anymore that Isak just staying, even if Newcastle forced him to, is tenable. And I don't think that's just tenable in terms of the player wouldn't like it. I think Newcastle United, from sources I've spoken to in the last 24 hours, think it is an untenable scenario where Isak just stays, even if contractually that is an option to the club. So I think it's only going to end in 2 ways now. Way 1, out of nowhere, he signs a new deal with the premise he can leave. Way 2, he still ends up at Liverpool. But for Liverpool to bid again, as I broke, Newcastle United will have to pick up the phone and say this deal is on.
Before you're on mute, Grizz, but I was going to ask you the same thing. So basically, you've answered it. I think was that everything is on Isak's shoulders now. The game is being played where.
Well, this is what Gags. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but you've asked way too many questions, and I feel left out. So I've just thought of an angle that I'm gonna get Ben's opinion on, because Ben, when Edwards and Hughes came back, or when Edwards came back to the club,
we lost him.
He asked a question,
you know what?
And then he got halfway through his question, and he got kicked out of his own show.
Can I ask you before he comes back? What's your gut feel? No, without the sources, what's your gut feel on what happens?
I don't give these gut feels or these percentages because we're journalists. We're not in the game of just giving you any false hope or any numbers so people can just cling and go, Ben Jacobs said there's an X% chance of it happening. I'll give you the reporting. And this is probably one of the most complicated transfer sagas that every journalist will have to report on, because almost everyone you go to, you do get a bit of counter opinion or info. So you kind of have to give all the caveats, because I've spoken to at least 20 people today, and I've done that for about 4 hours before I broke my story. And even after I'd spoken to people that are in the know, in the room, involved, I still thought, wait a minute, I'm not getting everyone on the same page here. And this is why we have to be very cautious and careful. I know people don't like to hear, if you're a Liverpool fan, that they're not bidding, but that's not quite what I said. I said they've got no plans now to bid. Right. So my gut reaction is we haven't seen the end of this saga. That's how I feel we're at the moment. I think there will be another twist. And I think there has to be another twist, because the first twist is going to be Liverpool do still try because they get encouragement from Newcastle, as I've reported. The second twist is going to be that he ends up out of nowhere signing a new deal and leaving in 12 months' time. So I think it's one of those 2 options, but I can't tell you or predict which one yet, because it's all on the shoulders of Alexander Isak still to determine I think, what the next step is. How hard does he really want this Liverpool move? And is he prepared to fall out with his own football club and force his way out and overshadow their Premier League season? Or is he prepared to do 12 more months, knowing that then they'll actually let him leave very freely? And I think that is what it is going to come down to.
No, appreciate it. I'm sorry I'm laughing. It's just that a lot of people think that I pulled the plug on
No,
Grizz.
you absolutely did.
I did not pull the plug on Grizz.
You can't keep a good man down. I am back with a vengeance. So I shall be taking over for the next 3 minutes. Where I was going to, Ben, was to ask about sort of how we know Edwards operated in his first stint at Liverpool in terms of how we dealt with players and transfer, especially high-profile transfers, where you have spoken about many times on my channel about sort of the tactics we use. For example, we always get the player buy-in. And this is what's very apparent we've done in this situation. It's very apparent that we have got the total buy-in of the player. And we hold all the cards from the player's side. Now, people talking about power plays and 4D chess. How does today's events, in your opinion, help Liverpool in this case, in this scenario? Because it seems like, and we don't know, but it seems like there's been a low ball offer, which is absolutely natural, as you said. You go in at a price that you think, okay, and then you work your way up. But I think we've been, and according to your reporting and many others of your colleagues as well, we were taken aback by the response. And therefore, it seems like a standoff of almost egos and prides at stake and a power play here.
Yeah, more than that. I mean, first of all, can we really call 110 million fixed a low ball offer? I don't think so, because it seems obvious to me that even if Newcastle were willing sellers, they would take that 110 and say, stick 10 million in add-ons on it. And I don't think Liverpool would have any issue with that. So 110 initial versus 120 that nobody would say was a low ball and was 110 plus 10, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. So don't get too sucked in by the 110, because you're not talking about 80 plus 30. You're talking about 110 million pounds fixed, guaranteed, that Newcastle can spend immediately, probably with quite preferable payment terms as well. And I'd be staggered if Newcastle had responded and gone, great, that's a really good starting point. Can we discuss something around 120, 125? I think it would get done very quickly if there was that willingness. So this doesn't feel lowball to me, even though Newcastle sources are briefing it as unsettling the player and not being serious. It's the opposite as far as I'm aware. Alexander Isak was unsettled long before Liverpool made an approach, long before Liverpool made a bid. And let's not forget that Newcastle United sources were saying he's gone AWOL. Nobody was confirming that it was part of the plan for him to go to Real Sociedad, whether for recovery or whether for solo training. And now suddenly this bid today has allegedly, from some Newcastle sources, and we have to respect that, which is why I'm mentioning it. I don't want to be unfair to the Newcastle side, but Newcastle sources are insisting this is a sign of Newcastle unsettling the player, of Newcastle going about it the wrong way, of Liverpool going about it the wrong way. They're all sort of saying it's about process. It's about everybody kind of doing things that aren't right for the player on both sides, really, to be honest with you, but particularly today, Liverpool. And the reality is that he was AWOL and he was absent before this bid came in and before even the approach came in. So I don't think this bid has had any bearing on the player, other than the fact he'll probably be quite encouraged to see Liverpool get moving. But what I would say is that the context of how Liverpool work in big transfers, like Florian Wirtz, for example, where it was Fernando Caro at Leverkusen with Richard Hughes, and how they worked under Michael Edwards when he was running the show, I don't think it's relevant. Because the thing that people don't understand with this saga, take the British transfer record and the caliber of the player and the politics, take all that away and just think about one clear thing. Newcastle United do not have a sporting director. Eddie Howe has more say than ever. Eddie Howe and Richard Hughes regularly in contact because they're friends and they're close. And yet this deal is going to be signed off by Yasser Al-Rumayyan, who is the big boss, also has to consider the PIF perspective. And in addition to that, is the de facto sporting director because Paul Mitchell has gone. And then if you add to the fact that the old sporting director, Paul Mitchell, didn't have a good relationship with Alexander Isak and has in many ways manufactured the situation we're in, because had they just offered Isak a new deal a year ago, he probably would be happy and Liverpool would probably have to come again in 2026. Then you have the fact that Yasser Al-Rumayyan is a wild card negotiator. He won't sign off anything unless it's on his terms, his negotiation, his deal. It's the Saudi way. You may know I'm Saudi correspondent for Talk Sport. You don't get these deals done when dealing with Saudi deal makers unless they think that they've got the better end of the bargain. So it becomes difficult. And my understanding is that this will not be a typical Richard Hughes deal, because it's Michael Edwards that's got the relationship generally with the Saudi side. And if this is to get done, I think it will almost be an informal conversation. So when I say about Newcastle encouragement, where may that come from? It will likely come from Yasser Al-Rumayyan privately and informally calling up specifically Michael Edwards and them almost saying, okay, how can we get on the same page? And then it will turn into another formal negotiation. And I think if Edwards and Al-Rumayyan are not involved and do not have that relationship, I'm not sure this just gets done through a mixture of Richard Hughes, Eddie Howe, Steve Nixon, who's kind of running the show on the Newcastle side. So the Saudi and the Rumayyan wild card angle to this. And as you may know, and some that have been following my work, sometimes Saudi just walk away out of principle. Sometimes they're stubborn. Sometimes they turn away good money. I think to Victor Osimhen, when PIF were negotiating and they thought he was going to Al Ahly, they agreed a deal. Player was waiting for a medical. And then suddenly out of nowhere, De Laurentiis called up the Saudis and basically said, you know what? If Ivan Toney's someone that you're working on concurrently for 40 million, I want another 15 million euros. And of course, the Saudis wanted Osimhen. Osimhen wanted to join. Money was not an object. And they went, no way. We're not doing that deal, because if you move the goalposts, if you change the terms. So this is why it's quite hard to judge, because even if it makes financial sense, even if there's lots of people within Newcastle and the player camp that say, okay, he's going to get his move. Yasser Al-Rumayyan might wake up today and go, no chance. He might wake up tomorrow morning and go, I'm going to sanction it. And this is why we have to be very cautious with how we report the story.
Can we pivot quickly? We come back to Newcastle and Isak, but you've been multitasking whilst on the show. You've tweeted something about Nunez, and we're talking about Saudi, so it stays on topic. Can you tell us a little bit about the Nunez story that's just breaking out there right now?
Yeah, it's breaking now, but it was something I ran exclusively a few weeks ago, and it's still my understanding that Darwin Nunez is an option for Al Hilal. I know we heard some suggestions of Al Ahly. That's not my understanding. Al Ahly, remember, have got Ivan Toney. They're looking for midfielders at the moment. Darwin Nunez was also subject of a Al Nassr bid in January for 70 million euros. It was turned down. It's important because it informs Liverpool's valuation. So Liverpool are looking for 70 million for Darwin Nunez. And if it's Saudi and euros, yeah. And if it's Saudi in particular, then they're not going to settle for anything less than 70 million euros. But even though they rejected it in January, I'm not of the belief they rejected it on financial terms. I think a bit like they tried with Luis Diaz, they ran the kind of numbers and they said, does the data point towards keeping Nunez and winning this Premier League or getting rid of him mid-season, in the same way that the data said keep Luis Diaz? But ultimately, the player drives the exit, and you can't really put that into a data algorithm. But essentially, the 70 million was good enough in January. It was just what trumped the 70 million was keep the player until the end of the season. Now there's less time on the contract. And if that valuation is met around the 70 million euros mark, the offer will be accepted. And I think that it's as simple as that. So then it's just about, does Darwin Nunez want Saudi Arabia? Because earlier in the window, he was very keen on that move to Napoli, but they got nowhere near Liverpool's valuation. I think their last verbal offer was about 50 million euros. And again, Liverpool pointed towards that 70 million euros. So I expect this one to move. I'll keep you posted later in the evening or tomorrow as to whether there has been a formal offer. Some Saudi sources say there has been significant club-to-club engagement in the last 24 to 48 hours. I've put that to Liverpool sources, and I'm told the talks and discussions are a bit more tentative. There is a feeling within Saudi that Simone Inzaghi, who's got a big say in all of this, especially because the Hilal president, Fahad bin Nafel's just stood down. So Inzaghi's sort of interim running the show here, and Fahad bin Nafel will be outgoing and they'll have a new election and all of this. Some even say, by the way, Paul Mitchell is going to be coming into Al Hilal as sporting director. And I can confirm another exclusive I broke. He's definitely a candidate. I'm just not sure they've offered him the job yet. So there's a lot of kind of moving parts in all of this. But in essence, Inzaghi is the one pretty much making the final call. And last week I was told there were 2 strikers that he'd narrowed it down to, of which one was in Spain. I don't have the name, unfortunately. And another was Darwin Nunez. So it is very possible this develops. But I'm near certain, if it does develop, that Al Hilal are going to be the club, not Al Nassr again, and not Al Ahly.
But this is another question that Liverpool fans will want to know and ask. I haven't seen any ask yet, but I'm sort of thinking for them, which can be dangerous. Can this in any way, shape, or form, Ben, be linked? And I'm sure there is some form of link with obviously the story about Isak, because if that deal doesn't happen, and simultaneously we do get rid of Nunez, Liverpool will be left with no striker. We obviously know the tragic circumstances of Diogo. Nunez was anticipated and still expected to be leaving. Does that suddenly put more pressure on Liverpool as well? Because at the moment, it seems like Liverpool are sitting comfortable and just awaiting Newcastle to handle their business before we go in for the swoop. Does this muddy waters, or is this just part of a play that we have to see play out, basically?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that was there to be a not expected, but not impossible, I guess, scenario where Darwin Nunez was just told by Liverpool, we've got Ekitike, we're not going to get Isak, we want you to stay. You would think that Nunez would be relatively happy about that scenario as well. I get the impression that Liverpool are looking to sell Darwin Nunez, but Darwin Nunez is ultimately very content if he was to end up just staying at Liverpool. And Hugo Ekitike can obviously play in different areas, still potentially allowing Nunez to get some time leading the line. But obviously, if Darwin Nunez goes, then there is a fair chance that another striker comes in, which means if they've got even more money and they've got another space in the squad, of course, it will lead people to put 2 and 2 together and say, how can they not be back for Alexander Isak? But I think we're just going to have to wait and see, because at the moment, they're 2 separate cases. And the first thing I'll try and confirm is just whether or not a scenario actually arises where Hilal bid, because there's a lot of whispers, there's a lot of talk, there's definitely an approach, but are they going to meet that valuation? And does Darwin Nunez in a World Cup year want Saudi Arabia? These are the answers, unfortunately, that we don't have at the moment. Regarding Jota, I've said before, and I have no care whatsoever if it makes my reporting out of context. I'm not personally going into that. I've never asked a single person at Liverpool Football Club about how they're going to react in the market because of the sad passing of Diogo Jota. Now, I appreciate there will be people at Liverpool that have to think about this and may have to think about this during the window, but I've just never felt it appropriate as a journalist to go to anybody in sourcing information about how Diogo's tragic passing is going to affect them, whether that adds more urgency, whether it changes the position they're looking at. So as we said on the last show, I looked at it as Luis Diaz, not for sale, but suddenly for sale because he was driving the move. And then you start to think, do they need a left winger? But obviously Ekitike can also float out wide. Then I look at it as, is it Ekitike or Isak, or Ekitike and Isak? And we know that they've tried for both. And then you think Darwin Nunez goes, and they definitely need another attacker of sorts. Absolutely. Can they find left-sided and central, or are they going to go for a more defined profile? And is it going to be informed by Diogo Jota? Only Liverpool hierarchy and senior recruitment people will know. I have never felt comfortable so soon after. asking the question or factoring it into my reporting. I prefer to not have the context and be respectful to Liverpool Football Club and grieve with the family and the fan base and put some distance that for me may extend beyond even this window, and just think about immortalizing the memory of Diogo Jota, retiring the shirt and not trying to ask questions about the void that he may leave. We may find a signing, even more than one signing, comes out of nowhere, and it's obvious that they've gone in a direction because they have to think in football terms. But as a journalist, I've never had that context. I've never tried to get that story. I've never looked at that angle yet. And I think more time for me personally would have to pass. So I can't answer how Diogo Jota is going to influence this recruitment, the volume they buy or the position they go for. And that is a very intentional thing. So unfortunately, I can't really give you a very good answer to that question.
You've given an excellent answer to that question, and this is why you are respected, especially amongst the Liverpool fan base. You know, and we, you know, we echo those words, so we respect that you haven't sort of gone down that avenue. Gags, is there anything else? Because I know you spent about an hour writing up 15 questions.
We have to do a quick fire round.
Yeah, just going back to Newcastle. Thank you for the answers that you've given so far, and also how respectful you've been with the Jota stuff. I've been watching you on Grizz's show as well, and it was really very much appreciated, to be honest. So back to Newcastle. Do you know anything about their striker hunt at the moment with Sesko and Watkins and Wissa? If you've got any insight on what's happening with that, that would be really interesting for the Liverpool fan base, because we know they've been struggling to buy, or they haven't got the cash to buy. So if they do buy, then it's a clear sign something's about to happen with Isak, you know.
Yeah, I think they've got the cash actually, because they're not in as bad a PSR bind as 12 months ago, but I think they don't have the wage space. And remember, PSR is annual, wages are however long your contract is. So they don't want to break their wage structure until perhaps they're in a position where they feel guaranteed to get European or Champions League football. Because if you go back a bit further, new owners came in, second bottom of the Premier League, Champions League, out in what was then the group phase before this new league format. Then they got nothing because Manchester United beat Man City in the FA Cup and they got bumped down a spot. Then they got Champions League again. So if you suddenly start paying a Champions League wage, if that pattern was to continue, you're overextending, which is more important than PSR, because as soon as you sign a player or offer Isak 300k over however many years, it's locked and you can't get out of that outlay. And I feel a bit sorry for Newcastle, because I don't think they failed like people are billing, because it's a great club. It's a great fan base. I've always had a soft spot for Newcastle United, and I think they're brilliant. And trying to challenge the big six with this project, I know some will say, well, of course, they're owned by one of the richest sovereign wealth funds, and we shouldn't ignore that. But you look at the Geordies, and you look at the culture, and you look at how they celebrated that long trophy drought ending. And
Liverpool fans were happy for them. I was there, and I was celebrating. I was like congratulating them in hotels and stuff. I'm like, we were very happy for them.
There's a lot to like about Newcastle.
Before. It's now they're being a bit rude to Liverpool fans. Let's be honest, like for no reason. Like we've not done anything. You know, it's like people are gonna.
I wouldn't say for no reason. I wouldn't say for no reason, because every fan base has its trolling section. So I wouldn't say without reason, but it's a complex situation. It is sensitive, and I'm with Ben actually. I do actually feel sorry for them. It's out of their control.
But I suppose what I'm saying is that when and Liverpool haven't been like this, because it's always been a big club in the upper echelons, fighting for the biggest names. But my point is that when you elevate as quickly as Newcastle have done, every single target they're going for now is a box office name. They're not going for some mid-table Premier League team midfielder competing against one or two clubs that also are outside of Champions League. They're competing against Liverpool for Ekitike or Chelsea for João Pedro. So in a weird way, that's backhanded compliment, because the targets they're going for show this project is moving. But if you can't match the wage and the package, and some players want to live in London, or some players think other clubs will always have Champions League over a 3-5 year contract, Newcastle might not, it is a little bit challenging. So I don't think they're losing out only because they're failing. I think they're losing out because they can't compete financially on the wage, on the package, and the fact that every other project is pitching the same thing. It's not like they're the only ones with Champions League football. Chelsea have got Champions League football. Liverpool have got Champions League football. So that's a factor. Then coming back to your question, I don't think it makes the blindest bit of difference who Newcastle get. If they bring in 2 attackers, that could influence the Isak situation. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't think it's a case of if Man U get Benjamin Sesko, it means that Isak is more likely to stay, because they're not going to miss out on Benjamin Sesko and then go, oh, okay, now we're just all in on only keeping Isak. They're going to still try and add attackers, because remember, Callum Wilson has gone as well. Yeah. So you have a situation where I think Newcastle want 2 attackers. I sense the Johan Wissa saga isn't over. And unlike some of these other names, he's pushing. He's doing what Isak is doing to try and force his move to Newcastle United Football Club. Maybe if a third bid is made around the 40 million mark, it will stand a chance. With Benjamin Sesko, the player's perhaps leaning towards Manchester United, but it's 2 very different tactics. Newcastle are going to Leipzig and they're saying, we'll give you what you want. So then the ball might be in Man United's court to match that offer. And if they can't, then who's to say Sesko won't have a straight choice between Leipzig or Newcastle? If they can, then I think that Sesko is more likely to go to Manchester United. If that happens, you've got Johan Strand Larsen, you've got potentially Ollie Watkins, even though we know that Villa don't want to sell. You've got Nicholas Jackson. There's Lois Openda, so they might go in for Sesko, not get him. And then whilst they're talking to Leipzig, speak about Lois Openda. I even heard Christopher Nkunku the other day from Chelsea. So I think as long as Newcastle get in an attacker, and let's be honest, they might miss out on these names, but come the end of the window, I struggle to believe there won't be several top targets from all around the world that look at that Geordie fan base, look at that stadium, look at that city, look at that manager, look at the camaraderie, look at the ownership and where they could be in a few years' time. Look at how Isak's doubled in valuation. Look at the demand for some of the other Brazilians at the club, like Bruno Guimaraes. Look at the form of Joe Linton under Eddie Howe. Look at the fact that they won a trophy last season, and look at the fact that they've got Champions League football. I reckon you will have several names. It's unfortunate the ones they really wanted have gone elsewhere, but I struggle to believe that Newcastle will leave August empty-handed without at least bringing in 1 attacker, if not 2.
We're going to ask Ben for a summary very, very, very soon, very quickly now. There's over close to 15,000 people watching me. I know you're all here for me. So there's 15,000 people here on all platforms. We appreciate you and amazing support. But Ben, in summary, I feel as though I know the answer that you're going to give. But in summary, what should we look out for in the next 48 hours, possibly few days, 72 hours, in terms of progression or regression in the Nunez, in the Nunez deal, and more importantly, probably as Liverpool fans, in the Isak deal? Is it a case of keep your eyes on Isak's, as opposed to equally? I know Gags asked about sort of the incomings of Newcastle. Yeah. I think it's as important, if not more important, to see what Isak does next.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So with Nunez, no real summary needed. If Al Hilal turn their interest into a formal bid, then if that's around 70 million euros, it will be accepted. And then obviously we'll find out if the player does or doesn't want to go to Saudi in a World Cup year. Pretty simple. If he doesn't go to Saudi Arabia, Liverpool have got to make a big decision. Do they keep him because their valuation is not met? Or do they consider lowering their price to potentially a European suitor? But I think that there is a chance Nunez does want to go to Saudi Arabia, because I was told in January when it was Al Nassr, not Al Hilal, bidding, that he was actually quite keen on that move. And it was very much Liverpool that said, no, we want you to stay. So that could develop. With the Isak situation, again, I encourage everybody to be patient, because a lot will be taken in sound bites that maybe you read on social media, when actually none of us are social media journalists. So even when I break my stories on social media, it's via TalkSport, it's via Gimme Sport. There's a whole article there. There's a whole broadcast there before the tweet comes. And this is, of all stories this summer, the one to understand the full context, because it's complicated due to the fact that You got Michael Edwards involved along with Richard Hughes. You got Yasser Al-Rumayyan. You got no sporting director at Newcastle United. It's a British transfer record. You've got a player that wants to leave. There may be replacements that need to come in. So can we really say anything definitively now? Perhaps not. But the summary is this, that as of now, Newcastle are not preparing an imminent second bid, but that is different to shutting the door on a transfer happening. And if they're to open the door and change their stance, Newcastle United will have to call up Liverpool, whether that's Yasser Al-Rumayyan to Michael Edwards or something a bit more formal, and say, up that bid. In which case, if there is then engagement between the clubs at the second time of asking, my expectation is the deal gets done. So what Liverpool are basically saying is, we went in with confidence and you shot it down so emphatically that you've got to come back to us. And if you come back to us, make sure there's a deal to be had, because we don't want to waste our time. So if it ever gets to the point now of a second bid, I would be surprised if that wasn't engaged with and if that didn't lead to a move. How do we get to the second bid? If there is a second bid, I think all those different aspects that we've mentioned throughout the show, including replacements, have to come to the fore. So then what might happen in the next 24, 48 hours? I think the most likely thing is the Isak camp, because my feeling is what Isak does next will define the entire summer. And I come back to what I said before when you exited the stream for a few minutes, that there were three options heading into the window: an extension, a stay, or a Liverpool move. Pretty much nothing else on the table. Man United were never there. Chelsea were never there. PSG were never there. There were three options on the table. Now there's two options on the table, because Newcastle sources I speak to today say just a stay on his current deal is untenable. And that's not the Isak side saying he will not stay and play on his existing contract. This is Newcastle sources intimating they don't think it can continue this way. So they don't think a solution anymore, but they did 3 months ago, can just be, we're not selling you, but you'll carry on playing and then we'll revisit it in a year's time. So I think Isak is either going to say, I'm not playing, I'm not training, I'm not part of your Premier League squads in August. And then I think Liverpool gain encouragement again, or he returns and he reintegrates. And then I actually think prior to Liverpool doing anything, there's a fair chance that Newcastle try and move as quick as they possibly can to say, thank you for reintegrating yourself. Here is a formal new deal. It allows you to leave in a year's time. Are you prepared to do one more year knowing you've got Champions League? And then we'll sell you to Liverpool in 12 months' time, and maybe even at a cheaper rate. So I think these are the directions of travel. Can I say exactly what's going to happen? No. Are people going to take things out of context? Yes. But that is where we stand as of tonight. No imminent bid planned, and an inclination not to bid at all. But if Newcastle United get on the end of the phone when other things align and say, actually, there's a deal to be had, then as long as Liverpool think they're genuine and they're not going to mess them around and they're not going to play too hard ball and it's going to suit all parties, then there is still a possibility that something moves a little bit later in the window.
Last question before you go. Very last question. Liverpool and the centre-backs. Obviously, we've not heard how severe Joe Gomez's injury is, but at the moment, in pre-season, we're playing anyone or everyone at centre-back when we're taking players off. Have you heard anything about any links to, I mean, what's happening with Guehi or anything else who Liverpool are linked with at all?
Yeah, Mark Gay is the interesting one, and obviously the price is expected to drop as the window progresses. So later in the window for a centre-back was always something that I was told. And as a consequence, I'm not surprised we're at August the 1st and they haven't really bid for a centre-back. Mark Gay, price Crystal Palace one, is still around the 40, 45 million pound mark. It was 50 at the beginning of the window. And I think Liverpool are actually looking at south of 40 million or 40 million with add-ons at the top end. And I don't think you get that accepted by Crystal Palace until a few more days or weeks pass. So if they bid for Gay, it's intentionally doing nothing to allow the price to drop. Because remember, with Mark Gay, he's not going to sign a new deal at Crystal Palace. Palace actually want to settle right now because they don't want him to go on a free. But Gay's the exact opposite. He's saying, if I play every week at Crystal Palace, leave on a free, pick my club because I'm a free transfer, and then have stability and minutes every week ahead of the World Cup. So it isn't only about, can you persuade Crystal Palace to sell for 40 million or less? It's also about, can you persuade Mark Gahey that specifically this season he's going to get enough game time. And naturally, if Ibrahima Konate stays at the club and you have Virgil van Dijk, Mark Gay might think he's better placed just to keep playing for Crystal Palace, captain that football club, and leave in a year's time. So this isn't only about Liverpool and Palace. And actually, I think Palace are going to be easier to deal with than Gahey, because you've really got to convince the player, not the long term, not the project, not the life after Konate, Van Dijk. You've got to tell him you're going to play 38 Premier League games this season, because that's what he's looking for in a World Cup year. So I think they may bid, but only if that price and the players and clubs plan aligns, and we're not there yet. And the other thing that people don't get about Mark Gahey is that he's sort of the exception to the rule in Liverpool's plan, which might sound strange because I think he's only 23 years of age. But Richard Hughes has been shortlisting defenders Jarrell Quantz's age or younger, so 18 to 22. That's why they looked at Jorel Hatto, but he's gone to Chelsea. Why did Liverpool not bid for Jorel Hatto? Because the player has been kind of converted since Francesco Farioli to a left back, and Liverpool want a left centre back predominant that can cover at left back, but of course not predominantly, because Milos Kerkez has arrived. So if Hatto was developing on track as just a centre back, I think they would have bid, but he's basically deemed to be better now and wants to play at left back since Francesco Farioli came into Ajax. He's obviously left now and is at Porto. But as a result, Liverpool sort of backed off despite giving him some consideration early in the window. Charlie Cresswell's another one, the ex-Leeds defender who's at Toulouse that they've scouted. So I think they may try for Gahey. That seems to be the direction of travel. But if they don't get Gahey, they're going to pivot back to this list of names they've had really for a long time. So if you look at Levi Colwell, even though they didn't think there was a chance, if you look at Lenny Yoro, who they only lost out on because they said, this is our plan for you. And Lenny Yoro disagreed. It wasn't a rejection of the club. It's how Liverpool work. You look at Mamadashvili and Alisson. You look at Kerkez and Andy Robertson. You look at potentially a young defender and Virgil van Dijk. Liverpool constantly bring in the name they want before the name they're replacing leaves. So if you're Lenny Yoro, the pitch to Yoro was you're not going to play every week, and he wanted to play every week. And Liverpool were not going to go against what they thought was best for his long-term development by chucking him in at the deep end. So this wasn't about not agreeing with the player. It was about the player listening to Liverpool's pitch as to how he's going to turn into a generational defender and saying, we don't think you're ready next season. Man U said, we think you are. He went and joined Man United. So if you go back a bit further, even before Richard Hughes, this 18 to 22-year-old young defender that is not ready now, but doesn't need to be ready now because you've got Ibrahima Konate and Virgil van Dijk. That's the plan. But Gay's sort of the exception because he might prove such good value for money if the price drops below 40. Yeah. And then when you think about Jarrell Quanza going and them being quite thin at centre-back, and all it needs is Ibrahima Konate to say, I want to leave now, or Virgil van Dijk to pick up an injury, and suddenly someone with proven, ready-made Premier League experience would be perfect. But you got to be able to convince the player that you might have to wait, that you might not be in the starting pairing on the first game of the season. So that's what makes the Gay situation the exception, but it's definitely not dead. And it wouldn't surprise me if in the next week or two, Liverpool show their hand.
I wouldn't want you to miss your TalkSport show. You've got a couple
I wanted to bring this comment up because I don't want to give a long summary of Ben's summary of his performance, but it's been class, just class. And we appreciate your time. We appreciate your effort. We appreciate your reporting. Thank you very much again, Ben. And I encourage everyone to go and subscribe, follow all of Ben's great work that he's doing across all the platforms. And thank you very much, Ben.
Yeah,
keep up the good work, guys. Always a pleasure coming on the show, and let's hope we get some development soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
So, I mean, this is it. As a Liverpool fan, right, Gags? It's like time to rub our hands because it's the.
I think it's pretty positive.
It's the calm before the storm.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I mean, from the reaction to the tweets earlier, I know he was reporting on it with Alex Crook together. So Alex Crook put something out, and Alex Crook had a little bit of an extra line in here saying, for now type thing, or until Newcastle buy a couple of players. So, yeah, I think it's not so negative as what everybody thought. I think it's I think it's quite positive that I think this deal does happen, and I think Isak is the key. So if he returns to training, signs a contract, obviously that's not going to happen. But
while we were online, there is some breaking news from Fabrizio Romano as well, and he says Alexander Isak remains on his position. So we were talking about Isak's position is very crucial into what happens next, how he decides where he decides to take this. Well, he says he has no intention as of today to sign a new deal at Newcastle. His intention is to go to Liverpool still. Alexander Isak and Liverpool, it is not over today. It depends on Newcastle, as always said. So to people that are saying, oh my God, we've messed this up, how will we mess this up? Or it's over, it's very evident that there is a lot of tactics and games at play here. And I think we need to just stay a little bit patient, because we are essentially talking about a record bid. We ain't talking about a 25 million, go in there and increase it by 3 million and Bob's your uncle, right?
100%. I think if we've got another super chat. I think Grizz just told us what he thought. Maybe you're a little bit behind, but he's just told us what he thought.
I think in a nutshell, people talk about neck on the line. I think he becomes a Liverpool player.
Yeah, me too. I think so too. I think personally, right, and I respect all the work everybody does, and I respect all the journalists and the way they deal with all the clubs and stuff. But I feel like there's games going on between the clubs as well. I feel like there is a circus for the fans. I feel like there is, it's kind of like a screenplay. You pull one way, we pull the other, and then, oh, look, you're on top. No, we're on top now, and we got to look better out of this. Manu's asking, do I really respect all the journos? When I say all the journos, I respect the journos for the job they do. Like, they're just doing their job, There's no reason for me to disrespect anybody. You guys might want to be harsh, and that's the social media world. I said this against Trent as well. I wasn't even harsh against Trent. You guys were. And Isak's doing pretty much what Trent was doing, and you guys now want Isak. So hey, I stood in the same line where I am. You guys are moving like this, so don't question who I respect. Respect yourselves first. You know what I mean? So basically, what I'm saying is, I just think it's leading one way. There's only one way it goes, and that's Isak coming to Liverpool, personally. And I think it's all about Newcastle looking good, because they're having a horrendous apps. I think this is an all-time, like how Liverpool's window is all-timer great. Newcastle's is all-timer shit.
Well, what they have was, so look, and Cam Branch's in the building. He says Newcastle are well versed in these games. Anthony Gordon being prime example. Anthony Gordon's interview today, I don't know if anyone heard it, read it, seen it. He talks about how it affected him. How can Newcastle go into a season knowing that what Gordon has said about his experience last season, about not being able to move to Liverpool when he wanted to, and now they're going to do the same to their star man, main striker, who's worth 130 million to them, and possibly, and that 130 million could get that squad very, very far. How does this end? I think there's only one ending, and that's Alexander the Great Isak will be a Liverpool player by the end of it. Of course, we didn't get a chance to touch upon Tyler Morton's pending move to Lyon. Paul Joyce has tweeted that very close to a £15 million move. Again, great business, great move, right?
What a deal. Nunez, if we get the 70 million euros for Nunez, dude, I'm telling you, the window is insane from Liverpool. Insane. And I've got a feeling, just say whatever we're saying is wrong, because there's always a chance we're wrong. There's no way that anyone can always be right. Just say that doesn't happen, right? Just say we're wrong, and what we're feeling or what we're thinking about Isak coming is wrong. Then maybe we've got a pivot ready as well, like a Rodrigo or something like that. I don't know who can play.
We have to, but this is my point I was making to Ben, in terms of, if we're getting rid of Nunez, regardless of, no, not regardless, but if Isak doesn't happen, then we're bringing in minimum two attackers. The numbers don't calculate.
Has to be.
It has
How
to be.
many two attackers now, including Isak? Because I know he didn't want to talk about the Jota thing, but it's a squad spot gone, you know?
Yeah, but many are suggesting, and obviously his performances have helped that notion about Rio being the 6th attacker.
Yeah, but that's 6th. Chiesa was the 6th. So Chiesa got what, 150, 300 minutes? That's about right for Rio.
Yeah, but that's fine then, isn't it? If Rio is the 6th attacker, we don't need 2. Am I right? If
No,
Isak
Chiesa's gone.
okay, hold on.
Chiesa will be gone. Nunez will be gone. Diaz will be gone.
Who will be here? Isak, Ekitike,
Mo.
Salah, Gakpo, Mo, and Rio.
No, you've just done Mo twice.
That's how good he is.
No, you did Mo twice, so we don't. We'll have 4.
Okay, problem.
Yeah, 100%.
Jaggy says, do we get him if Newcastle don't sign anyone? No.
I don't think so. I think that's the problem. They have to sign.
But
I don't see Newcastle not signing anyone. That's the thing. I think they will go down the list and end up getting somebody or 2 people.
It's not, and people are talking about Rodrigo and sort of, you know, I mean, look, at the moment, I don't know of any. Look, who's going to say no to Rodrigo, right? I'm not his biggest fan, but my first choice has to be getting Isak and then aligned with a Fofana. Because if this deal goes through and we are very favorable in our terms with Leon and our negotiations, it will only enhance and it will only encourage Leon to deal with us about Malik Fofana. And we already know from Malik Fofana's very vocal agent that Malik Fofana would love to join Liverpool. So exciting times.
Really exciting.
Great show.
We say at the same time. Any last questions from anybody? I think there's a Tyler Dibbling one here. I don't think Liverpool will be interested in Tyler Dibbling, Mr. Sky Blue, if I'm honest, just yet. I think they want 30 million odd for him. I think we'll probably go for more of a Fofana, like Grizz said, instead. Yeah, Tommy says if we go into the season with 4 attackers, we're screwed. Mr. Sky Blue thinks Rio is better than Fofana. Oh, where's he gone? Rio is better than Fofana. Wow. Okay, fine, if that's what you think. But you haven't seen that much of Rio, surely. Just one game against Japanese team. Yeah, that's anything. No, nothing else really there, I think.
No.
Well, what's your feeling, Grizz, overall? What do you think of what do you think is going to happen next? Do you think we will wait for Isak first before moving towards a CB and winger, or do you think we'll pivot now?
For sure, I don't think this will drag on. I don't think either club it's in either club's interest. I think we'll see significant movement on Newcastle and their incomings over the weekend, and then that will path. What's the word? Path the way. The path. Path the way.
Path the way.
Path the way for us to make our move. Once they've said, okay, we've secured our targets, we have not been mugged off in the market, because when people know you have 120, 130 million pound in your pocket, then obviously their prices or their asking price will be different from as opposed to not having that 120, 30 if you leave it in limbo. So I think, look, my personal plan, guys, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think this is all part of the dance. I think, as I said to you, I believe that relations behind the scenes are very good between the clubs. I think this is a playoff, face-off, call it what you want. I think Liverpool know that Newcastle need to play the game to secure their targets at a reasonable rate, and we need to help them in order to get those players on board. So we have to make out we're pulling away and we're not intending to bid again. So therefore, the likes of other clubs are thinking, oh, if Liverpool are not going to give them the money, maybe Newcastle haven't got the money. It's all, in my opinion, a game. It could backfire, and like people said, I put my neck on the line and I could look like an absolute shithead. But it won't be the first time, it won't be the last time. But right now, I believe this is all part of the dance.
Can I ask a question?
Keep the music on in the background. Keep the music on in the background lightly, and just let it simmer away.
Can I ask? I watched the video. I really enjoyed it. I gave you feedback in WhatsApp, the Isak one. But I want to ask what the idea was around how calm it was, and it was like you ate some, I don't know, calmers, and you were just like slow, very slow talking. What was the idea behind it? It was quite good. I enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for that first.
Hmm.
And people that know or follow me will know that that's me. I've got a phrase. I've got quite a few phrases in the big season. One of them is relax the ball. And that's me just relaxing the ball. I am very relaxed about the whole situation scenario. But why not, Gags? We are in absolute monster situation. Calmness, calmness, calmness. That's what it's about. And the video was about sort of me not doing a couple of things. I haven't had a cereal in time, so I had a cereal, and I hadn't done a video on my channel. So I done a video on my channel.
Kit Kat cereal. Wow.
I went for chocolate shreddies. There was no chocolate shreddies. And the next thing that I thought was closest to it was Kit Kat, but it was not the same.
No, didn't look good.
I mean, they didn't reply to my email as part of us brand partners, anyways. I stuffed them.
Oh, nice. Well, Mohammed says $9.99. By the way, that's the biggest we've had in this show. So, Mohammed, thank you so much for the super chat. This deal has already been agreed a while ago, and all this is PR and assistance to help Newcastle get a striker. 135 million is what's done, and all this is for show. Richard Hughes has orchestrated it all. Mohammed, tell us who your source is, bro. Because that's pretty Hines, whoever it is, we need to like get in touch and find out.
That's pretty much exactly what I just said. Literally just what I said 30 seconds ago. But hey, listen, what do we know? We can only give our opinions, whether they're informed or uninformed. And let's bide our time. Let's watch what happens in the next. As I said, I don't think this will drag on. Next 3 or 4 days.
By the way, we got it wrong. Mohammed is a star for giving us $9.99, but Mag Debates has told us it's pave the way, not pave the way. It's pave the way.
Yeah, I knew I said it wrong.
I got it wrong as well. So yeah, well, we're a bunch of idiots, both of us.
Honestly,
you're idiots. That's what we are.
What's the point of having a tag team partner when he doesn't help me? Like, I tagged you for help and you bloody missed my hand. You absolute shithead. Like, you know, Chat G&G. What's the point? Like, I looked at you for inspiration. And you went, GPT. Pave the way. Pave the way. Of course, it's paved the way. Thank you very much.
We're paving the way for better YouTubers. That's what we're doing.
Thank you very much. But listen, it's been an end to another wonderful show. It brings us to an end. We love the support. We love the energy. The chat has been amazing. Ben was superb, and Gags was just there as well. So hey, everyone's a winner, baby.
We are winners. I just, well, Liverpool definitely are winners, and they will be no matter what. Oh my God, we can't stop because people are giving us another $4.99 here from West Coast LFC LA from LA. Wonderful. If it's all down to Isak, why does it matter if you get their strike or not? I don't think it does. Well, it does matter because they can't let him leave without replacing him, right? No matter what happens, they need to have a player in before he goes, because that's just the way any club works, you know, any club in history. You look at any transfer, they want to make sure they look at Palace. Really, the stuff that I hear about Palace and Guehi is that they need to get a CB in first before they let him go, and they're struggling to get one in. So, you know, what Ben says is probably true too, but I think Palace would need to get that replacement in, and they were going for, who was it, Diamande? They couldn't get him in. Now they're going for someone else. And it's a tough one for them. So, plus they're having all this stuff with Europa League, right? So there's a whole load of other factors going in here. And I think the CB one, I think one thing that he's right about is probably going to go late in the window for the CB. But I think Isak.
But even that, I think it's under control. I think we have most things under control. It might not seem it at the moment, people, but my message, my opinion, my advice would be, whether you want to listen or take it or ignore it, whatever, that's up to you, but would be to stay calm. I think it's fine. Stay patient. We've done the majority of the groundwork in terms of the first part of the window, bringing in 4 players in. And now for the next 2 or 3, we may have to be a bit patient because they may be the most awkward ones to deal with, especially one of them, which is going to be the record-breaking one to bring in with. So these things take time. These things take patience, but all will be well. And yeah, we will be very, very strong again this season. This has been Chat G&G, and this has been an epic show, 1 hour, 15 minutes of Great analysis from the guys, and I've just been here to sort of go along with it and tag along. Gags, anything else to add or subtract?
This is new ground for me. I'm used to like hundreds of people watching. There's 16,500 on a show across all formats, all so this is yeah, very appreciative of everyone giving us the time their evening on a Friday night. So thank you very much for joining us and listening in. Any feedback, we always look to improve. And you know, we're always trying to be better and do better. So thank you very much for being here. And we've got another super chat in.
Last one. I'm not going to be addressing anymore because I must sleep. I'm beauty sleep. I know it's 9 o'clock on a Friday night, but that's how I roll. Samuel says, reckon we'll still go for a wide player?
Hope so.
I'm not sure. I hope so.
I really do. I hope
Yeah,
so. I hope it's the final.
I'm more inclined to say yes than no. 60-40 that we do. Big up PIDs in the building. A very good personal friend of mine says, smash the likes, people. Patience. Isak is a red. Thank you very much, chat, from Anfield Index. And listen, all that's left is to say good night from him and good night from me. Peace, love, and tranquility to you all. Up the Reds. Take care. Bye-bye.